more difficult and ridiculous ones. Some of you asked about God, whether or not human beings can know what God is, and if so, where He lives. And if you can find where He lives, is there a door you can knock on so that it can open and you can ask God some questions, or maybe He can invite you in and have a cup of coffee? That question is beyond me, so I'm not even going to get close to it. I'll let your priests or pastors or parents, grandparents kind of educate you about God. It's beyond me. And I think for those of you who want to know what God is or is not, maybe you should just look at the 10 Commandments, the first one and the second one and the third one. The first being that there is only one God that's supreme. There are, of course, other deities or gods below Him. That you can never conjure up any images about God, which means that imagination goes away, fantasies about God and His or her nature goes away. And the third one is make sure that you never utter the word God with your tongue, because words create images, words are a social construct, so we can't really talk about religion or God at all. There was a man named Søren Kierkegaard, 19th century Danish philosopher. All theology is blasphemy. That for those of you who want to keep your relationship with God clean, if you don't want to cheat on God, if you don't want to have an affair with anyone but God, try as best as you can to not engage in religious conversations, because it's really talking about the nature of God, God's being, if there is such a thing, and that's beyond you, it's beyond me, it's beyond everyone. You can try your best, and like Saint Aquinas, maybe around the age 49, when you're just about to die, you look at all of your writings and you say, oh my God, everything I've written is just nonsense. Does that make sense? I suppose you could say God is an experience, but that is also misleading because it could be mistaken for intuition. So let's talk about intuition very, very quickly. When Christianity became the official religion of Rome, and it was initiated by Saint Valentino, from where we get, of course, the Valentine's Day, and then established by Constantine, something really strange happened. All schools of philosophy shut down. People were no longer encouraged to think or reflect or to examine. They were encouraged to use their intuition, to follow the voice within. The thing you had mentioned some time ago, the child within. For those of you who are religious-minded, consider yourself to be somewhat spiritual, you could say that you would want to tap into the kingdom of God within and have it speak to you, and then you would be guided, and then you would just follow its lessons. For 1,000 years, that's what people did in the West. They followed, I suppose, their intuition. Instinct is different, but let's just put everything together. They follow their intuition and their instincts. But then, of course, you have one religion trying to topple another religion. You have Christians trying to dominate the Muslims trying to dominate the Christians. So it became like this warring zone. Whose ever faith, whose ever intuition is more powerful, especially backed by military force, their intuition is more correct. 18th century comes about. And there are some thinkers who kind of look at human history and they say, you know, we followed faith, we have followed religion, its teachings, its lessons, and it has led us to a lot of wars. It has led us to a lot of errors and mistakes and regrets and shame. So let us do this. Instead of following intuition or living by faith alone, let's be more rational. Enlightenment, age of reason, the 18th century. That there is nothing wrong with having faith as long as your faith is being filtered through your reason. If that's a little difficult to grasp, think of it this way. Next time you begin to like someone, next time you begin to fall in love with someone, before you allow this love to get you drunk and to cloud your vision and to take over and to say things or do things that you may probably regret in the future, take your companion to your parents. Let your parents meet your companion. Your parents have been tested by time. Your parents have been brutalized by life. Your parents have tasted love. They also know that love is not enough to sustain a life. That involves a good amount of politics. You need to lie. You need to cheat. You need to deceive. You need to do all sorts of nasty things to kind of sustain your relationship. So take your companion that you have fallen in love with to your parents. Not so much your father, but especially your mom. Sit back, let your mom observe this person very, very closely, and then take your companion home after like 5 or 10 or 15, 20 minutes. Go to your mom, make your mom a cup of coffee or tea, and say, so mom, I'm in love with this person. What do you think? And there's a good chance your mom, if, she's not high or she's not herself damaged, she'll look at you and she says, honey, while you were making some coffee for all of us, I asked your companion some questions. You say, what questions, mom? I love her or him. They are so perfect. Say, yes, of course, honey, I know. That's what I said about your dad as well before I divorced him. I asked your companion if he has a job, and he said no. I asked if he goes to school. He says no. I asked if he has a good relationship with his parents. He said no. I asked if he does drugs. He said yes. I asked if he does porn. He said, oh, ma'am, absolutely yes. I asked if he has an apartment. No, he lives in his car. Well, do you love him? And of course, yes, he's very creative. When he gets high, he writes poetry. He has a van. Sure, it's broken, 4 flat tires, it doesn't go anywhere, but you should see the inside. It's beautiful. And your mom doesn't know if she should cry, she should laugh, slap you, just walk away, disown you. And she'll kind of look at you and say, honey, I love you. And I appreciate the fact that you have grown to love this pathetic little worm that you call, John or Jack or Jill. But the truth is, they are a poison to your life, they are a poison to your soul. And of course, at that point, you rise up like a superhero, Assalamu alaikum, and you say, Mom, hello, what do you know about love? And your mom looks at you and says, honey, you're absolutely right. I am 50 and you are like 5. I don't know anything about love. Mom, have you ever been in love? What can your mom say, really? It's like a distant memory. It got lost in the business and the messiness of life. Because your mom has come to realize what's most important in life: rent, food, utilities, car, work, stability. You, on the other hand, you want to fall in love and live in the ocean of chaos. Now, your mom knows that as you get aged, as you get older, what you really want in life is stability. You want a man or a woman who are dependable. They don't change every 5 minutes. That's a disaster. So she tries to sit you down and educate you a few things. But no, as a young person, consumed, drunk, intoxicated by love, you say, no, Mom, what the hell do you know about love? I see how you are with Dad. He doesn't look at you. You don't look at him. You're always tired. When I go out with Jack, we're on fire. And you even take this a bit further. You say, Mom, let me ask you, how often do you and Dad do it? I know it's such a bad question that a child asks their parent. But this day and age, there is no shame. So the mom looks at her son or daughter and says, "Did you really ask me that question?" "Yes, I did, Mom. Answer me." And she looks at you and she says, once a week, maybe once every 2 weeks, or whenever time allows. Life is busy. Life burdens you in all sorts of different ways. Sex is the last thing that's on your plate or on your mind. But you're young, you're 20, your hormones are running wild, you have no responsibilities, obligations, you haven't been tested by time, you're like a hippie. Intuition is when you fall in love with someone and you trust your feelings and you have faith in your feelings. And you say, my feelings are not going to lead me astray. I'm on the straight path. And God forbid, should you have some religious components inside you, you're going to say to yourself, God put Jack right in front of my eyes so I could look at him, fall in love with him, and live in his broken van for the rest of my life. Your mom has been beaten by life. God is good, faith is good, intuition is good, but life, you need to be a great chess player. Move the wrong pieces and you will never be happy. Be with the wrong man. Don't graduate school at the right time. There is nothing wrong with you going to school at the age of 40 or 50, but you're just emotionally exhausted. It's difficult to focus. Nothing is ever too late. It's just out of season. So your mom, having been beaten by life, tries to insert some rationality, into you. There is nothing wrong with falling in love, but fall in love with the right things. Find the man who's going to school. Find the man who comes from a good background. Find the man who's solid on the inside, who has a job, who has some savings, who talks to his parents every day or every other day or every week, who has some savings, who doesn't smoke, who doesn't drink, who doesn't watch porn. He has no serious addictions to negative things. But like everyone who ever gets drunk, the end result is one of throw up. You stick your head out the window as your friends are driving you home and you just vomit. When you get together with the wrong person, but you're in love with them, at the end of 2-3 weeks of your journey in love, you keep calling him or her, they don't pick up. You get sad, you get frustrated, you get angry, you lock yourself in your room, you don't eat. Your mom knocks on your door and you tell her to get lost. Your friends call, but you don't pick up. You just cry, you can't sleep. That's a throw up. So is it good to follow your intuitions? No. If you consider intuition to be an art of sorts, that body, mind, and soul, they must work in harmony. There is nothing wrong with falling in love. Make sure it passes the test of your intellect, but make sure your intellect is sharp. And when your mind and your soul work in harmony, then perhaps you can trust, how you feel, because it has kind of passed some tests, rigorous, difficult tests. And what happened, of course, in the 18th century, because the age of reason was everywhere, religion was out, to some extent, the 19th century comes out and says, any of you in this class know who Bobby Fischer is? Bobby Fischer was a world champion chess player. He eventually walked away from the game and the competition simply because he said, chess is boring. All you do is just sit back and calculate. There is no intuition. You just have to play this game so many times, and you have to read books about the game so much that everything really has to be calculated inside your head. And after a while, you realize there is no creativity in the game at all. It's all the play of reason, that's all. So he walked away. 19th century comes about, and there are some thinkers who come out and say, life is frightening, faith is frightening, intuition is frightening. It has led us to war. It has created all sorts of injustices and inequalities. Let us be rational human beings. But when you just do your life through rationality and reason, there comes a point where you say, I get A's in all of my classes. I know how to write essays. I know how to raise my hand and ask, formulate good questions. I just don't feel anything. And I want to feel something. I want to feel as if I'm alive. And that's when 19th century comes about. Have a little bit of faith. Have a little bit of reason. Let them get married together with one another and live well side by side. Be passionate, but also employ a good amount of rationality and reason. For those of you who want to kind of get to this place where your reason can lay, the lion and the lamb lay together harmoniously, here's my suggestion. How many of you like this class? How many of you have enjoyed what we call philosophy so far? If you have enjoyed this class, I'm sure you have heard that song, Gangnam Style. This is philosophy Amir style. So you don't really like this class, you don't really like philosophy. What you really enjoy is my philosophy, my approach to things, the way I deconstruct things. Right? Now, I am glad that most of you are following your intuition. Hello. And by intuition, I mean you have these dim feelings that you come to this class, you have conversations, and you enjoy yourself. Your feelings about the class are positive. Now, I'm going to tell you something. For those of you who really, really have enjoyed this class thus far, or maybe I should say, for those of you who have enjoyed me thus far, put your feelings aside now. Graduate from Laney, get your AA in business, computer science, math, go to Berkeley, San Francisco, Yale, Stanford, get your bachelor's in philosophy. You won't like your experiences at Stanford or Berkeley or Yale, but crucify those feelings. Just listen to me. Not your parents, not your friends. Don't even listen to yourself, because you're a poison to yourself. You're young, filled with passion, dreams, and hopes that have not been tested. Get your bachelor's. Once you're done with your bachelor's, come and pay me a visit if I'm still alive. If I'm not, if I'm dead, contact my wife. She'll hook you up. If I'm still alive, I'll tell you to go to San Francisco, Yale, Oxford, Stanford, get your master's in philosophy. Most of you are in your 20s, early 20s. If you listen to me well, and not listen to your passions, and not listen to your pathetic, infantile reasoning abilities that are raw, untested, unrefined, you come back here with your master's degree. 5 years. You won't even be 30. I will get you a job. You won't be making 20 bucks an hour. You won't be making 30 bucks an hour, 40 bucks an hour, 50 bucks an hour, 60 bucks an hour. Peralta District will pay you $75 an hour. To do what? Stand here and talk. Play with ideas. And then you know what's going to happen? And you'll do all of this before you're 30. I have no doubt at some point, like 28, 29, you'll say, I have a job, I have a master's degree, maybe even a PhD. I want to have a companion. Now you will go out and test people. You will ask them difficult questions. You know why? Because you think like an educated human being. You know what the right questions are, or at least you know what you like in life. You want someone who can think. Does that make sense? Yeah? It's really not up to you, it's up to me. You need to be a teacher. And can we speak candidly? I think we need good people to be in the classroom. I think it's good to have young people who have dreams and hopes about social change, who are passionate, who are creative, especially people of color, to go into higher education and come back and be amongst young people. You don't want to go into a classroom and not relate to the instructor. All of us teach, regardless. You know, you can walk the streets and you can just slouch and walk like a bum. And a mother looks at a child and says, you see that girl walking, honey? Don't ever be like that. You have taught them a great lesson. You have told the mom in a very indirect way to tell her son never to be like you. And since all of us have no choice but to be an image that other people can either learn from, like us or dislike us, why not just be in the classroom? Make this a living for you. What's wrong with that? Now, there's a good chance that many of you will not be good in the classroom. If I was to be very honest, none of you will be good in the classroom. But who cares about that? It's much better than working in and out in a cubicle somewhere. You'll play with ideas. Once in a while, you'll have moments of inspiration. If you can do that in a single lifetime that you know of, which is this one, you are going to have a great life. You read books. You're around people who think like you, at least enjoy thinking and reflecting. And you come to class and you're around the young people who ask you wonderful questions, such as the ones we've had for the past 10 weeks. What more do you expect from life? You had your hand up. Okay, when it comes to you. Yeah. Yeah, go.
Thank you. So we are talking about relationships.
Right.
And to find the right person.
Yes.
If you smoke, but if you drink, and you find someone who smokes too, but drinks.
Oh, that's awful. Oh, yeah. You want someone who doesn't smoke and doesn't drink.
Make you
even water. I'm just kidding. Yeah, you just want someone who's healthy, man, because you have no idea. You know, you may be 18. In a couple of years, maybe you'll find a companion, and there comes a point where you realize you're established in life, and he's established in life, and you guys want to have a family, and you may want to adopt. I mean, you have no right to impose smoking on a child. Who the hell do you think you are? I'm just kidding. But the point is, you know, you have a child, you adopt someone, and then you realize, well, you want to quit smoking, but you have this addiction for about 20 years. What are you going to do then? So get rid of smoking and drinking now, and find someone who doesn't smoke or drink. I mean, it's just a stupid way of doing life. Forgive me. Yes. Hold on. Yes.
So my question is,
we'll get to... Yes.
what if you're not made for school? Like...
Oh, honey, I'm sorry. I thought you were my child. Listen, okay. Nobody is made for anything.
That's what I was
You know, most people are not like Mozart. They come out of their mother saying, Mom, I have no idea who you are, but I want my violin. We're not like that. Okay? Most of us, I mean, human beings, by nature, we are complacent, we are lazy, we are stubborn, we are arrogant. We have so many flaws. And anything that requires work means it's painful. And there is something about you and me. We don't enjoy pain. We don't enjoy effort. It's too much work. Add to it the fact that your organism, because it's lazy, it needs to relearn, it needs to learn new things if you want to be good at something. Okay? So that's where passion comes in. Passion becomes the guiding light. It forces you to move, to overcome obstacles. So when someone says, I'm depressed and nothing inspires me, what can I do? Well, really nothing. Find someone or something that can inspire you. The moment you find it, hang on to that thing. And if it has a long shelf life, it'll go inside you. And just in case you want to just sit and watch TV, that inspiration says, what are you doing? Go read Immanuel Kant. And just in case you say, no, I just want to watch Rambo. There's a part of you that enjoys Rambo, and there's a part of you that punishes the fact that you're sitting and enjoying Rambo. And then when the movie's over, you say, this was really good, but how could you be so stupid? You just wasted 2 hours watching this guy killing people. For what? You should have read something, wrote something. If you have nothing that inspires you in life, you're like this wounded animal. You know, find something. Find a rope. As we say in Persian, all human beings are in this dark well. All of us are just waiting to die. But while we are waiting for death to come, we keep looking for a rope so we can grab onto it and pull ourselves out of the well. You do that in this class, but you do it unconsciously. There are times where you doze off. You're not interested in the things I talk about. What happens to you? You get bored. That's a dark well. And then what happens? Your Messiah kicks in. Dreams, fantasies, imaginations. What am I going to do for lunch? Who am I going to call? Am I going to go here, go there? And that's your rope. But when you get chronically depressed, as most of us are in this classroom, there are no ropes, there are no fantasies or imaginations, and should you have them, they're very, very short-lived. Sure.
What would you say would be the habits?
Towards what?
Habits I don't just mean like not drinking alcohol. Habits of
There are a couple of things. Again, going back to Mario's question, since our organism, our bodies, our mind, okay, one of the things about habits is the following. You don't just come out of your mother's womb with habits. It doesn't work that way. What happens is, let's say you have never smoked in your life. Cigarettes. Okay. So here you are, and here are your loser friends. Okay. You're a loser, and you have losers as friends. And so you guys are walking around, and all of a sudden, one of your friends takes out a pack of cigarettes and begins to smoke. And of course, since they're generous and courteous and respectful, and they have been taught that you should always share the goods that you have with other people, because that's what friends do, they stretch out their arm and they say, oh, would you like one? So what is it? Is it gum? No, it's Winston. Winston Churchill? No, it's cigarettes. You want to try one? I've never done it before. And so you do it. And then it begins with a really sincere, innocent, friendly gesture. And then you go out again the second time with this person and you smoke again and then you smoke again. And then what happens is you have an action that repeats itself over and over and over again, that becomes now part of your psychology. You smoke after breakfast, you smoke between classes, you smoke after lunch, you smoke during classes or between classes, and then you smoke after dinner. And there is this imagination that you have, and maybe it's the right thing, I don't know, that when you smoke after food, for example, something about you calms down. You know, some people are social drinkers and some people are social smokers. So now your question is, I hung out with this guy at the age of 10. Him and I smoked, and now I am 30, and I smoke, say, a pack a day. Or let's just say a pack every other day, okay? Now, let's say you have a child, and now you want to break this 30-year habit. What are you going to do? You think what? Going somewhere, reading a book is going to help you? Of course not. To break any habit, you need a force from the outside. Because remember, what habits do is that they kind of make you oblivious, forget what you're doing because it's part of who and what you are. Okay? So to break any habit, every time your hand goes into your pocket to grab some tobacco, something about you must stand outside of you and say, what the hell are you doing? If you talk to any alcoholic, they'll tell you. They'll take a break for about 6 months. They're on the path to sobriety, and all of a sudden, it just takes a nanosecond. They fall back into it. Now, should your life have a good amount of stress in it, you resort to smoking, or maybe drinking, or maybe porning, or maybe boxing. God knows what people do these days. Now, since right now you are an infant, which means you don't really know how to get out of yourself, to look and then punish this part of you that says smoke, you need someone from the outside. Which means that if you have like 50 friends, smokers and drinkers, you need to find yourself a different set of friends. So what you do is, you say, maybe I should go to Bible meetings Monday through Friday from 5 in the morning until 10 p.m. Not because you like the Bible, not because you like Jesus Christ. None of these people smoke. They force you not to smoke. And every time you smoke, the messages from the Bible tells you your body is sacred. Inside your body lives the kingdom of God, the image of God. Why the hell would you want to corrupt it, contaminate it? And so the Bible creates an element of shame, fear, guilt, that not only are you betraying your body, but also Yahweh as well. But just going to a meeting for 5 days, it's not going to be sufficient, because 5 days against 30 years of a habit, it's nothing. This is like a drop of water. Now, when we talk about habits, you need to understand we are emotional junkies. Your emotions are habitual. Just in case you have trauma that leaks into other places in your life, that is also habitual. So to break any habit, you need to surround yourself with different forces that create a different set of emotions, right? Different set of thought patterns, and eventually habits. And then what you'll have are two habits fighting each other. And then you just have to wait and see which one wins. Let's say you have 10 friends. You've had them since you were 5. For some strange reason, you have kind of grown psychologically, emotionally, and intellectually, and you want to walk away. But these are your best friends, at least that's what you categorize them as. So you come to my office and you say, Amir, how can I get rid of these people? Or how can I walk away from this friendship? If I like you, and to like you, I need to be attracted to certain parts of you. The way you ask questions, perhaps, your body language, the way you listen, whatever the case may be. I say, why don't you come to the house for some dinner? We'll sit, we'll talk. And when you come there, I pay attention to your body language, how you speak to my kids, how you speak to my wife, whether or not you vacuum the house, whether you pick up after yourself. If you'll offer to help, wash dishes, Then very much like a former student of mine, maybe at one point you look at me, or we're sitting, you're talking, and I ask you, why do you like coming here? And you say, it feels like home. I say, oh, okay. That's a very profound statement. That you just met a guy, maybe for 5, 6, 7 weeks, and he asks you, why do you come to my house? Why do you come to the class? Why do you come to the office? And you say, it feels like home. It means that when you're at other places, you feel homeless, but when you are here, where I live, you feel at home.